For the last few weeks, we've been talking about how we all want to win. And we aren't just talking about winning a game or winning the lottery, but winning in life. In fact, it wouldn't be hard for us to agree that we all want to win when it comes to our words, our work, our relationships, our hearts, and our wallets. And we've received some advice from the wisest man ever to live to help us figure out how to win in life. Now, there's one last area we want to address, and it happens to be something that every one of us deals with almost daily. Let me ask you this question. Have you ever thought about how much waiting you do in any given day? Waiting for the kids to wake up, waiting for the kids to get dressed, waiting with the kids for the school bus, waiting for the red lights to turn green, waiting for traffic to move, waiting in line at the grocery store, waiting for the repair guy to show up, waiting for someone at work to do their part of a project, waiting at a medical office in the waiting room. When you heard that list, what feeling did you have as you pictured yourself in those scenarios? It probably made some of you feel sleepy, some of you anxious, and some of you ragingly mad. Whatever your typical reaction is, not many of us are fans of waiting. We want what we want when we want it. Think about the last time it took your computer an extra 30 seconds to start up. It felt like torture, didn't it? I bet that patience was one of the first things you were taught growing up. And it's probably one of the first things you taught your own kids. Yet even though we've known about patience our whole lives, it's something we all tend to lack as adults. We all know it's a virtue, but none of us do a great job of practicing it. In fact, if you're anything like me, you get impatient while you're trying to teach your kids patience. Why do we struggle with patience? Because it's not easy, that's why. Quite simply, being patient is just a difficult thing to do. And there's a lethal combination that moves patience from difficult to impossible. Have you ever had to be patient with a difficult person and that difficult person was in your family? I guarantee every one of us could raise our hand. That's just something about our family that seems to take what little patience we have and pour it down the drain. When your spouse is constantly late to family events because he or she works too much, you feel frustrated instead of patient. When your toddler wants to do everything for themselves and seems to take forever doing those things, but you need to leave for work, you feel annoyed instead of patient. When your mom can't seem to make up her mind about when and where your extended family is getting together for Christmas, you feel annoyed instead of patient. And when you're waiting on your teenager to text you back and let you know when they'll be home, you feel anxious instead of patient. When your grown adult child continues to struggle to keep a job, you feel angry instead of patient. And then we complain, fume, blow up, yell, or stress out, none of which ever helps the situation get better. In fact, most of us would agree that impatience almost always makes relational situations worse. I've never heard anyone say, impatience saved my relationship with my spouse, kids, mom, grandson, or stepdad. At the same time, I've also never heard anyone say, you know what, it's so easy to be patient with my family. But pretend with me for a moment. What would things look like at your house if you could be patient with your husband, with your wife, teenagers, or your stepkids? How would things be different if you had patience with your family for just 1 week? I'm guessing there would be less fighting. There'd be less arguing. Your family would be more peaceful. You would be happier. Your family would potentially respond to your patience by becoming more patient with you. It sounds nice, right? That may seem impossible, but I bet the thought of it is at least intriguing. I bet there's something in you that, as a member of a family, wants to set a more patient tone in your household, even if it feels like it would take an act of God to achieve it. Well, that's why what we're talking about today is so important. Even if you aren't sure what you think about God, or you're just kind of here because someone invited you, this can be really helpful for you, because we all have a family. Whether you're single, married with no kids, or married with 10 kids, your family can try your patience like no one else. Let's go back to the book of Proverbs for one more week to see what King Solomon has to say about it. Not only was Solomon the wisest person to ever live, but he also had a huge family. Solomon, like many fathers, passed down advice to his sons. He knew that even though he couldn't make a promise about how life would turn out, he could offer real-world advice on how to do life well. So it's no surprise that he had something to say about patience. Check it out. A person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. One of the reasons I love Solomon is because he just tells it like it is, even if what he's saying is challenging. And in this verse, he's saying that a person's wisdom leads to patience. In other words, the more you understand a situation, the more patience you'll have. When you know more of the story, understand more of your options, and look for the smart way to approach your relationships, the more patience you'll have. The opposite is true as well. When you don't know how to show empathy, when you only see things your way, or when you don't look for the best way to react, the more impatient you'll be. A wise person could look beyond a frustrating situation. When their spouse is working late, a wise person thinks, I bet they're really busy and stressed out today. When a wise person's mom can't make up her mind about Christmas plans for extended family, a wise person thinks, she has a lot of schedules to juggle to make this happen, and she just wants to make us all happy. In other words, a wise person can see beyond the immediate circumstances. Anytime you learn to do that, you're well on your way to finding more peace and less stress. And not only that, you'll find yourself able to stay calmer instead of falling apart. Wisdom produces patience. Understanding a situation gives patience. Wise people are patient people. But again, the opposite is true. Unwise people are impatient people. An unwise person is someone who can only see what's happening to them. It's a one-sided story, and on their side, they know exactly how and when things should happen. So unless things are going their way, unwise people are annoyed, frustrated, and angry. The word patient is never used to describe them. And this is why small things all of a sudden become big things to impatient people. It's why waiting a few extra minutes in traffic drives them mad. It's why helping their kids with their homework is torturous. It's why unless they're doing one of their favorite activities, they're already ready to move on to what's next, because they only see their side of the story. It's a miserable way to live, to be honest, but it's more than that. It's a small way to live, because all it does is make you think about yourself. Unwise, impatient people are people whose world is all about themselves. Ouch, right? But trust me, we all have a lot of work to do in this area. Let's all think about it this way. If you want to win in life, let patience take the lead. Impatience hyper-focuses all of your attention on the thing you're waiting on the way you think things should go. It creates a very small world. All the while, you miss the potential of that moment. Potential for what? Anything positive, beneficial, or healthy. Connect with a friend, pray, write an encouraging message to a loved one. Find a way to make your world bigger. Solomon has very strong language for what that develops in us. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. That's a pretty big statement. It's to your glory to overlook something or someone who's annoying you or making you angry. It makes you and your life bigger. It builds you up. It makes you a better version of yourself. It makes you wiser. It's an honor to be patient, which seems backwards. We think it's an honor to get our way and get what we want, but God says the opposite. He says it's an honor to back off, slow down, and remember that He's in control. It makes your world much bigger and better. So what are some basic things you can do beginning today to help you be patient when it comes to your family? Well, first, ask for wisdom. In the New Testament, a guy named James wrote, "If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." You don't have to learn the hard way. You can start accumulating wisdom now by asking for it. When your kids are driving you crazy, ask God to give you insight on what to do. When your spouse is taking forever to make a decision, ask God to help you show kindness and compassion. You can also ask people for wisdom. When you find yourself around parents or a married couple who seem patient and wise, ask them for some tips. Older people are also full of wisdom since they've lived through and seen so much more of life. Sometimes it helps to have someone outside of your situation to give you perspective and clarity in how to approach someone or a situation. You can also develop patience by watching your tongue. When those moments come up, when you feel impatient and when you want to resort to your normal responses, take a deep breath, count backwards from 5 if you need to. James also wrote this, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." Wisdom says to think about the words you're about to say before you say them. Wisdom slows down before speaking and responding. And finally, we can build patience by thinking about the future. Have you ever gone back through a day in your mind and thought, why was that such a big deal? Why did I freak out? So often, what we think is a big deal now in the moment just isn't a big deal the next day. In fact, it's usually not a big deal an hour from now. So the next time you feel impatience rising up, think about the future. Will this be a big deal 2 minutes from now? 2 hours from now? 2 days from now? Most of the time, the answer is no. And when the answer is no, patience becomes easier. There's no question about it. Patience is difficult, but it's absolutely necessary for people who want great relationships. God holds this value so high because He knows that when you develop this skill, its impact will overflow into every area of your life, especially your family. Remember, if you want to win in life, let patience take the lead. Think about the person in your life who is the most difficult for you. While you can't control what that person does, you can control your reaction. And even if they don't deserve it, your choice to be patient can go a long way in helping heal what's broken in that relationship. Remember, it's for your benefit, your good, and your glory to do so.